Here.
Steve Smith,
Here.
Bill Schoonover,
Here.
Greg Willoughby,
Here.
Approval of minutes of the last 3 meetings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Comment from the audience.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to take a moment to go ahead and introduce Daniel Hughes.
Turn your mic, can you get a little closer?
I want to introduce Daniel Hughes. He's our new assistant manager at Summit. I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about his background.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Daniel Hughes. Like you said, I'm the new assistant manager for Summit at Springdale. I've got a background in aviation management with a degree in aviation management from Henderson State University in 2015. I was the airport manager in Arkadelphia for a short time before joining TAC Air in Texarkana. Joined them as a line technician and folded into quality control management for them, and I've been doing that for the last 2 years. So most of my aviation knowledge pertains to fuel and quality control as far as that's concerned. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I'm not really sure it's my first day. I'm not really sure what is going on just yet, but I'm glad to be here. Glad this was happening on my first day here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I do plan on being at as many as possible. Of course, to stay up to date on everything, get to know everybody, and make sure that y'all know who I am and know that you can come to me with anything, questions or comments or whatever you may need. So
Are
thank you.
you added or are you taking someone's place? How?
Added. It's a new position. Dave Powell and Mark have created this position for me to kind of take some of the load off Suzanne and Dave himself and provide a little bit more structure to the way the line is run and the fuel management is run there at Summit, so we can kind of hopefully start perfecting our services and get them just right for quality and for different customers' needs, be able to support that.
Understand. Thanks.
Thank you.
Airport Operations Wyman.
I'd like to call your attention to page 15 of the packet. We set about a 5-year record high for operations for 1 month. So you can tell by the graph that it is substantial. Still got grants ongoing with FAA and the state on the runway. And the way it runs is we usually have to spend the money before we get it back. So we're showing that we're in the red for the year of $103,000, but we've got money we spent that will get reimbursed from FAA and the state.
Any questions for Wyman?
Is this 87, on the next page, 17? Is that 87,000 what we would have when the grants are paid back? Or is this what we actually physically have in the bank?
What we've actually got in the bank.
So when the grants are paid back, that will go up substantially.
Correct.
I didn't hear how much the grant was, or grants are. What's the total amount due? Do we know?
Don't have the total receivable. It varies from month to month.
Oh, okay.
We do get partial payments from FAA when we file. But should wind up getting 100% of the project back at the very end, but we get the states at the end.
Talking about the grant for the runway improvements that we're doing, right?
Right. Is that the, James, is that the gate entryway?
Okay,
Automatic gate operators? There was.
Yeah, that one, $300.
ASG hangar mobile.
I'm not sure what that is. I'll have to.
Okay, if you let us know next month, that'd be great.
What was your question, Bill? I missed that.
The expenditure item, $13,040 for the month of July, and year-to-date, $21,500 for ASG hangar mobile. About 3/4 of the way down in the expenditure column on page 16.
Not 13, yeah.
Something to do with the airport, but yes.
On mobile.
Could that be the money advances or something coming up on our renovation and stuff?
On Hangar 2, our payouts as we go.
I'm just looking at we got one there for ASG runway, one at ASG road, and then ASG mobile hangar. I was
Well,
just-
what does the hangar mobile, what does that stand for?
That's what's throwing me. I can't think of what.
Could that just be a misprint on the,
I can't think of anything right now.
we'll figure it out for the next meeting. Any other questions?
We'll change the description to something we
Yeah,
recognize.
the description must be off or something. Any other questions, Wyman? If not, James, on your operation report?
All right. On our hangar rent, I've been in touch with Brandon Morris, and his wife's supposed to be in today to pay $450, and then he'll be caught up by the end of the next month. I've got a guy looking at our terminal roof. Apparently, when it was re-roofed 20 years ago or something, they never tied the drains back in properly. So I think that's going to be part of our problems while we have water running in different areas. So they're going to be working on getting us an estimate for that. During the shutdown, Summit wants to know if we want to buy the paint, and then they'll paint the floor in hangar 10B during that 2-week shutdown of the runway. And then on the fuel farm, the catwalk's starting to rust a little bit, so I'm gonna buy some paint and get that painted also. But thought I'd ask y'all if y'all want the 10B floor painted.
I think last month, or the previous meeting, Dave commented that they'd be willing to do some maintenance while the airport was down or while the runway was down. I think it's good timing.
You have any idea what that paint costs?
Done.
The epoxy paint's pretty expensive.
Big hangar.
I'd like to see a cost estimate on the paint.
1,000 square feet.
Any special requirements to apply it as far as,
Well, you can go in there and apply it, and then if it's not done right, it's not gonna hold.
It'll be
It's gonna
That's
come
what
right
I
up.
was-
You have to edge that floor, get all the oil off of it and everything.
Well, they said they have a guy that knows how to do it. Summit says they have a fellow that knows how to put it down.
Yeah, well, that's what it takes. It's about 50-50, paint and the
Epoxy.
labor. So exactly when is that shutdown?
Next month,
Yeah,
middle of next month.
We got to see. We have a meeting before that?
I don't think so.
Could give the chairman the authority to approve it if the price is within reason and judgment.
Would that be acceptable with Wyman's suggestion? I approve it if I'm good with it, or
We're closed September 16th, October 3rd.
yes.
is everybody good with that? Get a price on it and let me make that choice? Is that
All right with that.
okay? Well,
Do we need that in a motion?
pardon me?
If we need it in a motion, I'll
Yeah,
move.
go ahead and put it in a
I'll
motion.
move that we allow Neil to
Approve or disapprove?
approve or disapprove the painting,
I'll second it.
based on the price of the paint.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Okay. James and I can handle that.
Air Evac bought them a new helicopter. So the new helicopter until next spring is based at the airport. So sometimes they're on duty for hours on end, just sitting at the helicopter waiting. So JG asked if we would allow them access into the coffee room in the terminal for like this winter when it's cold and things like that. And I told them they could access our break room up there in building 14. There's a bathroom there and there's a warm room. But they would like to access the terminal if possible after hours. The only problem with that is we have no way of securing that room. They got the whole terminal to run. But I told them I'd ask.
Well, you have people that's that familiar with the airport, that's trustworthy. I don't really have a problem with it. They're,
Got at least to Summit, would we have to say something to
yeah,
them
they'd have to
about
go
it?
through them.
Yeah.
Well, I need to
Okay.
start with you before I went to Summit.
Pardon me?
I started with you guys before I went to Summit with it.
Right. I would let Summit make that call because they're the ones that got stuff laying out in
Now, Suzanne, what would your thoughts be as far as securing your working areas should this come to be?
Well, I would like to know where are they actually parking the helicopter?
9A, north side of the terminal building, so that's why they want to access that coffee room, which is right there by them.
Any chance they could park it over by your building? If, you know, if it's distance from the helicopter to the thing, where they park the helicopter is irrelevant. You know, I mean, if there's ramp and there's not a problem, access, that's another consideration. They could just relocate the helicopter next to their building where they have access to coffee and warm and stuff. I mean, it's nice, I guess, it, be by the terminal, I mean, for visibility. If that's one of the things that they're after, I don't know, but if they're not, they could park.
Well, they've got they'll have the helicopter in which hangar?
9A,
Well, of course, that's inconvenient to go all the way around over to where you were talking about.
So they're actually gonna. put
Has
it in.
9A got a office in it?
yes.
Well, it looks to me like they could put their own coffee pot in there. They got a lounge in it. Yeah,
Well, they're subleasing from Summit to put their
Yeah.
helicopter in there.
We had made the suggestion to them that they had the office area in there as well, in that particular hangar. And that's what any previous tenants had done in the past.
I mean,
What advantage would they have to not being in their own office?
9,
well, you got bathrooms over there too. Nothing happened there.
that office area is heated and
the hangar has heat, and I think the office also does.
It has a bathroom in it also? Oh, okay.
yeah, I don't see.
They should not have any need for it then.
Is there full temperature control, heat and cool? How long is this gonna be? Is this
He
a
thinks it's
short
gonna be
term?
till spring when they build their
All
new
winter.
hangar.
New hangar where?
across from the hospital.
Okay, at
Where
the
their base
hospital.
is.
That small office area has electric already provided for them, so if they wanted to put a little small space heater in there, they'd be able to probably accommodate that small of an area. If not, there is gas that they could have hooked up and turned on if they want to heat the entire hangar.
Probably want the recline.
Anything else, James?
That's it.
What about your hangar closure? Do you have any?
Yes, the door is supposed to have shipped out August 18th, so they should be arriving anytime. They've already got the tracks down, they've got the rails in, they've got the electric done. So as soon as the doors arrive, they can start putting them up. And we've got 30 names waiting. I mean, we've been overran with calls the past month, 2 months, everybody wanting hangars. So,
Good deal, that's the way it goes.
yeah.
I have a question about the terminal doors. Are they still swinging?
No, he fixed them
They are
yesterday.
fixed?
He's got a new sensor ordered also.
Okay.
So this is twice he came out to work on them. He fixed them yesterday and
So far, they're working the way they're supposed to?
So when those are done, they will immediately be full.
plus are open. It should be the first time in 21 years I've been there that every hangar we have will be full.
Good thing.
That's good news.
So if we can build more hangars, it'd be great.
Fill them up first.
That's it.
Okay. Moving on, Wyman, report on the card reader. James, you got the card reader on your,
Yeah, I can talk on that. The upgrade, they give us, like $3,400 discount up until September. They said the bonus will not go away, the discount, but it will shrink tremendously. He didn't know an exact number. So if we don't jump on upgrading our self-serve card reader before next month, then our rebate for returning the old system is gonna shrink. And the new one's still gonna cost us $11,000, I believe it was. And, so that's why they've got us on a time constraint on making.
how long
decisions.
is it gonna take for us to get our money back?
Well, I'm sure they would take it off the new one we buy.
So it's 11 less 3,400.
Right.
Or either that or, no, it was 15 less 3,400, is it
Okay.
not?
Well, I don't have that
Brings it
exact
down to
number.
11.
It brings it down to 11.
Right.
Yeah.
So they've already got the discount.
14,995 minus 3,495.
They've got the discount already penciled in.
But we also have in conjunction with that a proposal from Summit to deal with that card reader.
Yes.
That needs to be considered also.
Any comments?
I mean, this really why we're having this meeting today is because these decisions need to be made. And
Just throw out the simple numbers where we're at, what we're looking at in just simple terms. Again,
So if we replace what we have right now, we're looking at $11,795 with our discount. They'll ship us a new card reader. We'll take the old one out, ship it back, set the new one in place.
okay?
That's our end.
Is that our best option?
Yes.
That's all the option we've got?
does that include, how are you going to get the information? Wi-Fi or landline, telephone line?
Yeah, this new system will go Wi-Fi. It works wireless,
The Wi-Fi into whose system?
the FBO.
Those systems.
But we have hardwire there if we need.
Or a landline if you wanted.
Right.
Does everybody understand what we'll be voting on. Any,
Summit gonna do a participation on that?
No,
They, you know, when they were here at the last meeting, they said something about,
that's in the proposal that they gave us last time. They're proposing to pay for it and upgrade the system with an awning and stuff, if we choose to do that. And they were also going to upgrade in the same proposal, pilot lounge, break area, and they were going to provide that as well. In exchange for, instead of the 5-year, they asked for a 20-10-5 on the lease.
have we got a printout of how much we're selling out of that self-service?
Yeah, it's in this proposal. Dave put it in here. Says it generates about 2,500 gallons a year. There's got to be 2,000 gallons in the tank to prime the pump, so they got to keep 2,000 unusable fuel in it.
Yeah, okay.
And they get into that in this proposal. I personally would like to seriously consider Summit's proposal for the upgrade and let them pay for it, and the extension of the lease or the term, from my standpoint, as a business person, I like to know that I'm partnering with somebody, and the terms, the length of the thing is important in that. And we have in our lease, that's why I asked Rose to print that, there's sufficient safeguards if Summit didn't perform that you can terminate that lease. So the years of service which they're asking for, which gives them a security knowing we're going to keep them, for them to invest money in our airport, I think is a fair situation.
Greg, is the request for 20-year lease with 10-year and 5-year option, is that 20 years from the original lease date, or is that 20 years from today?
It doesn't specify that. What I was thinking about, because I know some of you've had some issues with the long term, I was thinking that if we went 15, 10, and 5.
Say again, I didn't understand that.
I was saying that we would go 15, 10, and 5. They're asking for 20, 10, and,
We're creeping back up to that old original proposal to go to a 30-year
I know.
lease out here, and my question is this self-service worth that? Seems to me like we're not even getting, we won't even get our money back over a period of time. And I've been strictly opposed to that long-term lease.
May I
as
ask
y'all
why?
know from the beginning.
May I ask why?
The reason is because just in general business practices, you don't put yourself on that side of the contract for that extended period of time. You're putting, if something goes haywire, then you're having to force the issue. You're not defending the issue. So it's good, we've got a review every 5 years, and it can go on and on and on. If something starts going south on this, then you're tied to a long-term lease. Now you've got to go in there and try to make the case that it should not go on, rather than just saying, no, we feel like that there's a problem here and we need to move on. Then they would have to come back to us and prove that we're wrong, that we're not in that, that
So
they're
you
not
don't
in
think
breach.
that the safeguards in the lease are adequate to do that? You're
No,
saying
I
we
don't.
have,
I
you're
don't
saying we
think-
have to defend the safeguards?
I don't think whenever you extend the lease out there for that length of time, that you're doing the city justice for tying the airport up for that length of time. I've been there, in fact, I was just thinking, I've been on this airport commission for 20 years, and we're talking about longer than that, and I've seen major changes out there. I've seen lots of turnover in FBOs and everything else, business model change and the like. So we are gonna see change. Summit will see change in their business, in their operation. And you know that airport, the growth that we've had in the last 20 years and everything. I just don't think you can look that far ahead and say this is where it's at. But we've always tried to come back and get to this point. And I understand I'm probably one of the big dissenters on it, but it's just my opinion, and I'm definitely not for extending it, especially for this. And
Well,
maybe
I
can't
just
make a
personally
case.
feel like when you want somebody to partner with you and invest and really not just come to work and do their job, but to grow the business and grow your airport, they're the front door for it. If it were me and I was asked to invest and put in it, if I thought in 3 years I wouldn't do it. But if I knew I had something longer than that, I would. I don't know about like the bus commitment to the city and the region and all that kind of stuff. You know, if you didn't think that the Northwest Arkansas was committed to you, would you be willing to advertise, invest, and grow? Or would you just ride it along for the minimum amount of effort? That's what I'm thinking.
I understand both sides, and the one thing that I always also rely on, and it's not a cop-out, is I go straight to the FTA, Federal Transit Administration, and say, okay, how does this look to you, and is this an equitable lease? One of the things that they typically will come back to, or any contract, is they don't like seeing, on my side of the Department of Transportation, and we're all under the same parent, FAA and FTA, they don't like seeing contracts for more than 7 years. So my question would be, has the FAA, does it have any weight in on a long-term contract and leasing of rights to an airport? That's a question I don't have an answer to.
I know that I've talked to people at other airports where I've been, and they have long-term commitments with their FBOs. A lot of them do. Some don't, but most do. And they feel like that it's because that FBO is more likely, because it's in their business interest, with a long-term commitment to promote the airport. And in talking with them, when I travel around the state and places and talk to the FBO operators, they seem to feel like that works for them. So it made sense to me. You know, if you want people to invest and to grow and to promote, you have to do likewise, commit to them as well. Anyhow, over this issue, I don't know, you know, but it came up again, it was in the proposal. And since that has to do with the card reader and everything else, I did a little research preparing, and I just thought I'd voice my opinion.
Anybody else?
Well, I agree with part of what you're saying, but at the same time, we're not saying that we're not promoting them or that we're not wanting them to be a part of it. We do, we are. We've committed to 5 years, and as long as things are ginning and going smoothly, we want to continue that. And that's kind of where this whole thing wound up over a couple of years' time, I think, was hashing this back and forth to where we ended up. To me, I think the numbers, I don't know the numbers well enough to decide if this is a good deal for us or not a good deal for us. What are we saving by them doing this versus us doing this?
Well, basically $11,000 today, I think, is what we're saving. Oh, well,
just for
the
that.
additional work that they proposed here was $30,000 for a canopy and just to dress it up and make it look more professional and that. And I don't know what about the pilot lounge and those things, what those costs would be, but in their proposal, it was roughly $30,000 that they were going to spend. And whether avgas, I think that's probably the issue as much as anything, 2,500 gallons a year in avgas, when we're getting, is it worth the money to even have gas on the airport? I don't know how that would affect the local operators. Avgas versus aviation fuel. 2,500 gallons a year is not a lot of, or 25,000 is not a lot of fuel. at 250 people, 100
Full
gallons a year.
airport, you'll think that number will go up, though.
Yes. I would think so, because a lot of people prefer to do this, just like the self-serve versus full service.
You gotta look at, is this gonna fit in, would this fit in well with the long-term plans of the airport? And I know on that particular, situation there, I just don't see how no more revenue than this thing generates to begin with, that it would justify changing the contract.
It's not justified based on itself, the revenue it generates, but it is part of the attracting force to get people to come to our airport, and that if they need to fly on the weekend or at night, they do have access to it. So they may not use it, but it is an enticement that we have for people to base their airplane at Springdale.
But for $11,000, to me, it's not worth extending the contract.
But we might be contractually obligated to keep it going with the FBO agreement that we've got now.
I make a motion, we just pay for it for the time being.
Here, a second.
Dies.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? Roll call?
Collier,
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Schoonover,
No,
Willoughby,
No.
Johnson,
Yes. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and pay for it ourselves.
So what was,
go ahead and pay for it?
Yes.
Pay for it?
Yes.
And we need to do that by when?
September.
Before September. At
those
least
are,
get the ball rolling.
In other words, tomorrow or Friday.
Y'all get in touch with Matt over at
You got the money, Wyman?
we do.
Okay, good. Okay, report on land acquisition.
Before we go there, if you don't mind, we haven't heard from the proposal by Summit Aviation, now that they know where we stand on the actual fueling portion of it. What about the rest of the proposal? Does the rest of the proposal have any weight or bearing in discussion? They're talking about doing other things to the facility other than just the fuel island. Do they have anything else to propose?
It all,
It was an all or nothing gig?
I understood it.
well,
That's what I understood.
I believe they were interested, had come to you guys before about that, trying to do the interior of it where, you know, they wanted to make a nicer pilot facility. We've had pilots complaining because the two areas that we have, one area that has the coffee and goes out to the north side, there's a lot of traffic that goes in and out of there, so a lot of people are some people get upset when they're in there and they can't rest properly. So we were looking at whether or not we could take one of the offices that we have upstairs and turn it into a very nice facility for the pilots. In exchange for that, they were looking at a longer-term lease, which you guys had the ability to see what other airports in the area or airports that generate the same type of traffic level that Springdale does and what their lease term agreements were. If you wanted to present something back or offer something in return, I would be happy to present it to the owners.
let's think about this. We had proposals anywhere from 500,000 to 1.6 million to spend at that terminal, from totally rebuilding it to various stages. We spent less than 200,000 on it. We still have room, if expenditures are justified, to make that call and pay for it ourselves. And rather than, going into this, debating this extended lease all the time and asking for Summit to pay for it, we have the ability to do that. And we have a city council that is proud of that airport. We have a mayor's proud of that airport. We have different things. I'm not saying that they would fund it. If capital improvements would fund it, I don't know. But if we can go make a case that we really need this thing, we do have access to funds that could make it possible. That's where I'm coming from on it, because we came up with, I don't know if we still have any of that money left, but we certainly did a lot with under $200,000 just recently. Wyman?
Another thing to consider is the next issue we're gonna talk about is acquiring property on Emma to build an executive terminal building. So
In the
do we
long-
wanna funnel our money toward that executive terminal building on Emma, or entryway into this existing terminal building?
I would say it depends on how much we're talking about to begin with. But we didn't mean to just take that terminal and stop. We painted the tower after the fact. We bought other things for it after we got to the point that we proposed. And I would certainly like to look at it as separate issues and bring the proposal, let us see what we can work out.
I think the reason why we submitted the proposal is because we were asked if Summit would participate in helping purchase the self-serve terminal. So this was our response to that.
Okay,
Yeah, I think
Sounds
that's
good.
right. That was back in May.
good.
Okay.
Anything else, Joel?
No, sir. I wanted to make sure there was closure on that.
Land acquisition.
We've made offers on the three houses on Emma Street. I've had contact, one of them came to the last airport commission and spoke that they did not think the appraisal was adequate for their property. And one of the other tenants called me, and they seemed excited about the offer and asked if they could keep their utility storage shed, which I said we didn't care. But none of the three have signed the offer acceptance to accept the appraised value. Need some direction from the airport commission. I'd like to recommend that we send them a short letter reminding them that if they accept it, they need to sign the paper I sent them and turn it back into us. And if they don't do that within a time y'all set, then that whether you want us to go ahead and file condemnation on the three.
Well, I certainly think they need to be notified that it's a timely issue. We can't just sit on
We
it.
gave them a deadline and that is passed, but I think it'd be courteous to give them a reminder before we actually file condemnation.
Too.
Very good.
The one couple that was here at our last regular meeting, when we didn't have a meeting, their concern was, wondered why their property, which physically joins the airport, it was 1 acre, and there's a half acre next to them, and the per acre appraisal was less for theirs than the other. Had to do with the house and the structure on it, and wanted to know how we arrived. Of course, and I after the meeting, I told them, I said, we had nothing to do with it. It's strictly a professional appraiser that was agreed to by another professional appraiser. But they felt like that their property, because it does join us, without theirs, the other two really don't have much value to us in their mind. And
Two properties in question were appraised using a different method. And the appraisals are very technical in the explanation, and they're not the exact same style of appraisal, because one of them was rental property and the other one was a residence. And the per acre charges don't vary near as much as what they thinking they did. And each one of them, the big issue is that they got more credit for their property because they had a bigger piece of property, but their house on it has deteriorated considerably, and the other house is in better shape and 500 square feet larger, which brought it up almost to the same level. They've got more frontage on Emma than the other property, but when I went back and studied them and tried to determine the per acre value, there was a slight difference in the per acre value, but not a substantial difference. And I don't feel like that I have or we have the qualifications to dispute what two professional appraisers set for the value. And normal procedure is if they don't agree and we're that far apart, then we go to court and let the court decide what the fair value is. They did not indicate they were willing to go pay for their own appraisal.
They did indicate they were willing to sell.
Correct.
They did say that they were willing to sell, they just were
Wanna sell.
concerned about that appraisal. And when they were talking about the difference in the houses, they said, well, we've known for 3 years you guys were interested, and so we didn't maintain our house, because we thought you were gonna get it.
I don't
And
buy that one.
that was part of the conversation, and I just telling you guys so you'll know what they said, as I recall it. Is it?
There's one issue that they get caught up in, I know we had it to rear its head down at the south end, is they're right in saying that their property joins the airport, but their property can't access the airport. It really has no value as long as it's privately owned. It can only be part of the airport if the airport owns it. So it really doesn't add any value. They can't sell it for a hangar or anything like that. So
No,
that's really one place they get confused. Well, my property's real valuable. Well, it is valuable to us. And it probably did up the appraisal rather than just go out here and sell it to somebody who wants to buy it for a rent house or something.
Well, and their statement was the other two properties are less valuable because they have no value to you if you can't have ours first, you know.
How much time should we give them? 30 days?
What'd we give them already?
I think we gave them like 3 weeks from
Yeah, let's
the time they signed the letter.
Could we give them another 30 days and then,
21 days. If we give them 3 weeks, I recommend we give them 21 days and then push it
I'd
forward.
say
for
give them 30
condemnation.
days and then make a motion for me to give them 30 days, and then if they haven't responded, file condemnation.
I'll make a motion that we give them 30 days, and then if not, give Wyman the authority to file condemnation.
okay, any second? Roll call?
Gardner,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Schoonover,
Yes.
Willoughby,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Collier.
Yes.
Adam's not here. Any old business?
I got a
Comment?
couple of questions for James. On the roof you're getting an estimate on, do we need a second estimate on that? Can I get somebody to contact you on that?
Yes, sir.
And then where we at on the entryway?
The doors are done, the floor is done, the tile's done.
Tile is done?
Yeah, it is. So, it all looks good.
Good.
Anything else?
What's latest on our restaurant? Anybody know?
They were on vacation last week, so Monday was their first day back.
I went and visited with them a couple of weeks ago, maybe, something like that. And they're wanting to cut their hours. They're not doing what they were anticipating as far as sales, which they have cut their hours, cut their days. They're no longer serving breakfast. They were wanting signage, more signage. And I actually went to whatever their title is,
City,
city code
code enforcement.
to find out, and they cannot have another sign. They can only have the one sign. Every business can have one sign, so they're maxed out on the sign that they have, that we provided down here. I asked her to come, or for them to come to the meeting and visit with us, but they didn't last time or today, obviously, so I'm not quite sure status is other than that.
Sound to me just like a bad business model. You know, you're not gonna get customers if you're not regular. And that's what I understood where the problem started.
Yeah, I spoke with Doyle also, and I said, the commission wants you, if you post that you're open from 10 to 2, someone needs to be here 10 to 2, what you have posted.
I want to remind everybody here that we are leasing a piece of square footage. We are not restaurateurs, and we are not to demand when their hours are. So long as they're paying their bill, we should be happy. I know it's upsetting that we can't walk in there and get what we want to get when we want to get it, but remind you guys, we're not in the restaurant business.
The only other
We are in
thing,
the square foot per dollar business, and if they're paying their bill, we shouldn't say anything.
Well,
one of the things that we have to consider is their impact on the other businesses there. You know, and if people come out there and create a stir because they're not there with some of the other tenants, then you have there's an issue there that we need to discuss with them. If they're getting deliveries, if they're not there except 10 to 2, but their deliveries come at 8:30 in the morning, somebody needs to be there to get the deliveries.
Or the delivery doesn't get made, and
We
then they
can't-
don't get their stuff.
Yeah, we cannot,
Because nobody,
dictate that. I
nobody
agree with
around
you.
here should be saying, oh, I'll take it for them. No.
Oh.
No, they're not here. Deliver it when they can. I mean, they need to be available to run their own business in their own way, and the only thing that we need to be doing is renting them a square foot. And that's, I
I
don't
agree
want to
with-
be, I don't want to be involved in any conversations on how to run a restaurant,
Me either.
because that's not my job.
me either.
I've kind of taken that position Joel just mentioned and I'm not happy with that position. But I believe it's a legal question rather than ours to determine what hours you work or whatever. I'd like to see it real successful. I'd like
yeah.
to see it open 12 hours a day, serving 3 meals a day. But again, where does our authority stop? Again, we lease them the space, and they put their stuff in there. So, but I really think we do have some power behind it from just the standpoint of the stigma of the airport and how far does our authority go. So I think we should probably get an opinion from council in order to proceed on this and do it. I mean, I'm not happy the way it is, but I don't think we're at the point where we go yank the lease.
But just reflects Porter.
But yeah, it's a reflection on the entire airport.
Right.
It does
And
reflect
the
the
city,
board.
yeah.
And even certain hardships about corporate charter people come in planning to get food or have access to the food.
And all this other money for it to get them, and then they
Be told
got
it's
a
not
little bump
available.
in the
and-
road there.
even to the extent of calling in to confirm they're going to be there so they can come in to eat, and they get there and they're closed.
That's right.
Well, I think we need to get legal counsel on it and then proceed.
How do we
I want to
approach?
volunteer to talk to the prosecutor and just ask him his
Be happy
opinion.
to.
Okay? And anybody wants to, well, I guess under the circumstances, you'd be the only one that needs to go. So,
Well, Greg, you've talked to the tenant as well, so.
But they didn't pull any punches about, admitting they've cut their hours, and I know they've got other business
really
interests.
surprises me, as gung-ho as they were, and
That-
as well as they were doing in Huntsville. I just don't understand.
Well, I was never up there when it wasn't busy, when I was there open, and they were busy when I was there.
That lunch is good. That's their mainstay is lunch.
I think the demands of this food truck that they're operating carry their days into the night and is a factor.
But that's, again, nothing we,
That's nothing that we can
Our deal.
do anything about, but I think it does impact what they're doing for us or aren't doing here at the airport.
Maybe we can find something out before next meeting. Any comments from the commissioners? I'd like to just apologize for my absence in the last few months, but I've had some things happening that hadn't been real good, and, but I'm straightened out now, I think. At least I had my last surgery here 3 weeks ago, and I have more energy than I've had in months, so I'm happy with it.
Looking good.
I'm happy with it, and, you don't ever want to start getting involved in that doctors if you don't have to. So, anyway, anything else? If not, we'll adjourn.